Hello and welcome to Module 2 of the KCS at Home Summer Edition Bridge program. My name is Alex Mangone. I'm a Latin teacher at the Ellen STEM Academy, and I'm here to guide you through these modules. So today in Module 2, we'll be taking a look at conjugation and present tense verbs. So Module 1, all about nouns. Today, talking about all about verbs. So let's get started. So when we talk about verbs in Latin, just like nouns, verbs have characteristics that we use to help describe them grammatically, okay? Verbs have 4 characteristics that we use on the regular. The first one is person, then number, tense, and voice. So person defines what the subject will be. We define it as first person, second person, or third person. So first person is I in the singular and we in the plural. Second person is you in the singular and you all in the plural. Here in the South, we can often just say y'all, and perfectly fine. In the third person, in the singular, we have he, she, or it, depending on who you're talking about or what you're talking about. And in the third plural, we have they, okay? Number, very straightforward, just like with nouns, is this singular or is this plural, okay? You can have a singular verb and you can have a plural verb. And really what that depends on is the subject of that verb. Is the verb singular, or sorry, is the subject singular or is the subject plural? That lets you know what type of verbs you need. So just like in English, where we have subject-verb agreement, right? We say things like they are rather than they is, right? We say she is rather than she are, right? This subject-verb agreement happens in Latin, okay? We also have tense, okay? Tense defines when the action of a verb takes place. In Latin, there are a total of 6 tenses, okay? Throughout these modules, we're actually only going to talk about 2. Today, we're going to focus on the present, and then later on, we'll talk about one of the past tenses of Latin. Finally, we have voice. Voice shows whether the action is performed by the subject or the action is performed on the subject. So this is what we call active voice if the subject performs the action, or we have passive voice. That is when the subject is acted upon, okay? For right now, we're not gonna worry too much about voice. We're gonna talk about that a lot more in depth later on in a future module. So let's move forward. So verbs have endings just like nouns do, okay? Nouns have endings, verbs have endings. Pretty much everything in Latin has its own set of endings, okay? These endings are organized by tense and voice, okay? So we'll have things like a set of present active endings. And then later on in the modules, we'll see present passive endings, so on and so forth, right? Future active endings, future passive endings, so on and so forth. Okay. Each ending represents a combination of person and number, right? So the deeper you go into Latin, the more you'll hear things like, oh, that verb ending is first person singular. This verb ending is third person plural, so on and so forth. And as we said before, every combination of person and number is represented by a pronoun. So let's take a look at those again. Again, first person singular, I. In the plural, we. Second person singular, you. Second plural, you all, or again, y'all. Third person, he, she, it. And then third plural, they. So each of these combinations, or each pronoun, is represented by a different ending in Latin. So in the present active, these endings are O, S, and T in the singular. So O is first person singular, S is second person singular, and T is she, he, it. In the plural, we have MUS, which is we, TIS, y'all, and NT, they. So again, every pronoun represented by an ending. Okay, so what do we exactly do with these endings, and how do we translate them when we do see a verb with one of these endings on it? Let's take a look. So when you see a verb with one of these endings on it, you will translate it with the pronoun that goes with that ending. Okay, so let's take a look with our verb amo, which means to love. So amo has the long O on it. So that makes it first person singular. So we know that amo means is the verb to love. So with that long O on it, it means I love, right? So I love is wrapped up in that one word, amo. If we have the S on it, so amas, it becomes you love. Amat, he, she, it loves. Amamus, we love. Amatus, y'all love. And amant, they love. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, how did I get from these endings here, right? The OST, MUS, TIS, NT. And then how did I attach them to the verb here? All right, well, let's take a look on exactly how to do that. So when we're forming present tense verbs, you actually will need to look at its dictionary form, much like with nouns, to figure out what's going on and how to appropriately attach the endings. So most verbs in your Latin dictionary will have 4 forms listed in order. Okay, we call these forms principal parts. So very aptly named, the first principal part, second principal part, third principal part, fourth principal part. So for example, when you look up amo in a Latin dictionary, you're not just going to see the word amo there. You will see amo, amare, amavi, amatus. The first principal part, the second principal part, the third principal part, and the fourth principal part. When we are dealing with present tense verbs, we only need the first 2. So just amo and amare, okay? We can just chuck these other 2 out. We don't have to look at them for the rest of this, okay? So we have our 2 principal parts, amo and amare. So the first principal part happens to be the first person singular form. It just always will be, okay? So you just take the first principal part, amo, and you slot it in directly into the first person singular, already formed for you. All other 5 forms come from the second principal part, okay? And we do that by dropping the RE off amare, and we add the appropriate personal present ending, right? So the ST, MUSTIS, NT. So you can see that the AMA stem remains the entire verb. So amo, amas, amat, amamus, amatus, amat. Okay, this also explains the spelling change between these 2. Okay, so amo is our first principal part, amare our second, gives us that stem change. Okay, the whole point of principal parts in general, so if we go back a slide and look at our example, the reason why these forms are chosen is because with these 4 forms, you can make literally any verb form in Latin. Okay, if you gave me a random verb out of the dictionary and then a random verb form of it, I could form it with just these 4. And soon you'll be able to do the same. So we have looked at the characteristics of verbs. We have seen the present tense endings, and don't worry, we'll cover more tenses later on. We have looked at how to translate present tense verbs, and we have also seen how to form present tense verbs. Okay, this is going to wrap up module 2. For this module, I highly recommend that you check out the included Magistrula exercises that go along with this module, as well as the conjugamos.com exercises as well. Both of those will be really great practice for you. Okay. As always be studying your vocabulary. You can find on Quizlet, provided for you free of charge. Okay. I hope you found this helpful. Again, I'm Alex Mangone, here for KCS at Home Summer Edition, and I hope everyone's having a good one. I'll see you in the next module. Take care.